thank you. I'm sorry, there's a plane going over, but thank you so much for agreeing to meet with us today. We do appreciate it very much.
Of course.
So we just wanted to give you some background information on our organization. We started Feed the Dreams to address the concerns that we'd seen throughout our communities, and we noticed that a lot of these stories and dreams are left unheard of due to a lack of resources. So we hope to use our platform to uplift impoverished communities and share their voices around the world.
Perfect. Great. Thank you.
So we will hopefully try and publish this onto our website. So before we begin with the whole interview, can you introduce yourself to those who may not know you?
Yes, I'm Assemblymember Sharon Quirk-Silva, and I represent the 67th district, Assembly District, which includes the cities of Fullerton, Anaheim, Buena Park, Cypress, La Palma, and 3 cities in Los Angeles, including Cerritos, Artesia, and Hawaiian Gardens.
So could you describe what motivated you to pursue a career in politics and become an assembly member?
Well, it is a very long road to becoming an assembly member. It really was not, if you want to say, an intentional pathway. I was first a teacher, elementary school teacher, right in Fullerton, not only in Fullerton, but also teaching at the school that I used to attend in Fullerton, Richmond Elementary School. And then I had a special assignment in the school district, and it was called Healthy Start Coordinator. And this was almost, if you can believe it, 25 years ago. So my interest in politics was really related to teaching, in the sense that, like you made in your opening statement, it was about connecting students and families in a highly impoverished area, the Richmond neighborhood, to services within our community, whether that be dental, whether it be healthcare, whether it be housing, eyeglasses. So I started initially 25 years ago as a Healthy Start coordinator under the Fullerton Elementary School District umbrella. And then because of that special assignment as a teacher, I then applied to be on the Fullerton Parks and Recreation Commission, kind of thinking there was grant funding for Meals on Wheels, senior services. That would be a good role to play within that title as a Healthy Start coordinator, and also / Fullerton Collaborative director at that time. We had a collaborative that now still exists in Fullerton called the Fullerton Collaborative. So that's what happened. I actually was appointed to this Parks and Recreation Commission. And if you want to say, that was the first step into politics, not really realizing it. I was appointed, but had to be appointed by the local mayor and council members. And then after serving on that commission for 2 years, I in fact decided to run for Fullerton City Council.
Yeah, very cool.
Right. And then after that, there happened to be redistricting, and that was in 2012. We looked at the maps and thought there could be a possibility. I put my name on the ballot for that race, and in fact won in a kind of a long shot race in 2012. So that's how I ended up becoming a state assembly member. But before that, I served 8 years on the Fullerton City Council, 2 terms as mayor.
So continuing with that thought about you in politics and how with redistricting, you have many different cities now. So what strategies are you taking to engage and empower community members to take part in the decision-making processes and create their own solutions to challenges that they face, both in their community and what they see globally?
I think one of the things from the very first time I decided to run for local government, but has continued into my terms as assembly member, is to be, number one, accessible. Number two, listening to what the constituents are saying that is either of concern or their needs, and then trying to take action, followed by those requests. So a major event just happened this last weekend, and it really relates to not only my time on city council, but now at the state as an assembly member, which was in essence working to save Coyote Hills, which is the last open space in North Orange County, 500 acres. And when one of the first major votes I had on Fullerton City Council was saying yes to develop it or no, and I not only said no, but wanted to work to find ways to save that. There are many advocates in Fullerton that wanted that. That vote did not move the development forward all the way back to 2004. Then on another term in council, 2008, new council members came. And in fact, we voted again, and I another vote to say no to development and to finding ways to save. So when I made my way to the state assembly, one of the first things that I worked on was how do we find funding? Because it's one thing to want to save property. It's another thing when Chevron owned the property, and how do we get funding to possibly start this? So one of the first budget requests that we had that was put into the budget in a bond measure was to give some of the initial startup funding of almost $5 million to the Save Coyote Hill group. Since then, we've had Senator Josh Newman, who's also worked in other conservancies like Rivers and Mountains conservancies, but it always takes an initial funding. So I'm really proud of that. As just this last weekend on Saturday, some of the initial Coyote Hills hiking trails have been open after not just the 2 decades, but even before myself, there were others trying. So this has been a very long time action, and we're really proud because we know there will be for generations to come this space that will be open to the public.
Yeah, I just saw it open the other day on, I think, your social media platform, and I thought it was so cool. I've yet to go explore the trails yet, but I'm very excited to go see them.
Well, let's do a high school walk with some of your friends.
I'd love to set that up.
That's amazing, honestly. After looking through your platform, I noticed that you're concerned with the issue of, say, homelessness or more poverty. So in your past experience, what do you believe are the main barriers to economic mobility and stability for people living in these communities?
I think it all goes back to social equity. And many times we will see families that are working extremely hard, maybe sometimes even 2 jobs, and yet they still aren't getting ahead. So when we haven't addressed systemic issues like the lack of affordable housing, we will see hardworking Californians that are doing everything that is asked of them to work, to raise a family, and yet they still are barely able to afford an apartment. Some apartments now are $3,000 a month for a 2-bedroom. Maybe on the lower income side, if they're lucky, they could find something for $2,000 a month. But as you know, with that type of rent, you have to make a very large wage in order to be able to pay that rent. So living within proximity of the resort areas, Disneyland, Knott's Berry Farm, knowing that many of these hardworking Californians are hospitality workers, whether it's in the hotels, whether it's in the theme parks, whether it's in the restaurants, we know that sometimes just working hard or even doubly hard has not been enough. And we do sadly see many people falling into homelessness. It will become worse because of the rent protections through COVID that are now being lifted. Of course, we also know that many individuals are living with multiple families to try to pay the rent. So those issues compel me to want to be a voice, not only to keep homelessness from increasing, but to get people housed, which I think are directly linked. Is we have to build more affordable housing. Now, I do get pushback from some of the constituents in my own district. There are people who just want the problem removed, which would be just get rid of those homeless camps or those people on the streets. And I understand the anxiety that comes with interfacing with homeless camps. We have other issues on the streets of California. And of course, that has to do with mental health, with addiction. And again, we do not have the type of facilities to get the type of help. There are some sober living homes. Most of those are a 30-day, 60-day, 90-day, and then you're supposed to exit and be completely on your way. And we know that is not how it happens on a time for recovery. So we really have some systemic issues that are making it very difficult for individuals to stay housed and to be able to manage what we would call a reasonable lifestyle in Orange County, and much of it has to do with our housing prices.
Yeah, we completely agree. As high school students, we definitely similar issues both in our local community and throughout in different cities as well. And so hopefully through this platform, through our organization and through our high school lives, we'll be able to battle these just as you are as we move forward through both our lives and our careers. So thank you for sharing about that. And if we could continue with that, what are some of the bills or legislation that you've helped pass during your term your terms as an assembly member? And of those, which have been the most memorable, and what impact has that done to change our community?
Well, we've passed many, many bills, well over 50 bills under various themes. If you go to our website, they will all be there. And there are several under housing and homelessness. There's a few under mental health. There's some under education. There's some under job support, many for veterans. You know, when I think about what I'm most proud of, it's not a particular bill. It's the steady effort to continue to work in a space that is very difficult to see accomplishments. But one for sure is one of my very first bills, and this bill would give a fee waiver for individuals experiencing homelessness, and so that they can actually get a valid ID or driver's license. We know that when people are on the streets, their belongings are often stolen or lost, and that includes ID. We know that individuals cannot even access very basic needs without that, so that if they're going to get some support from human services or social services without an ID, they cannot even start that process. We've been told by nonprofits that this has been an extremely valuable tool for them. So I'm really proud of that. Another major effort is we have worked on better outcomes for veterans as a return from service, better support systems. But one of the efforts that has taken 10 years for us is to bring an Orange County Veterans Cemetery to Orange County. A lot of people don't realize that Orange County actually is host to one of the largest veteran populations in California, and yet we're the largest county without a veteran cemetery. So this has been a tale of continuing to focus and move the project and the legislation forward, even with several detours and sometimes when we even thought that the project was completely derailed. And we initially started with Irvine, and there was consent to move forward, council changed, and then we really dealt with some neighborhoods that did not want a veterans cemetery, finally working with the veterans who felt that this doesn't seem like a good match. We ended up working with the county to move that legislation and cemetery to Anaheim, Gypsum Canyon. We're currently in a study right now to study the property, and keeping our fingers crossed, we believe sometime in 2025, maybe early 2026, we'll have our first possible internments there. So it's been a long project. If it happens according to what I think, it will certainly be all of my terms, because we get a total of 12 years. And if I'm here after this next term, that it will have taken to get that moved forward.
Yeah, and we definitely commend you for all of your efforts to continue pushing with all these. We know and we've heard how long that these bills take to actually get processed and actually move up through different legislations and levels of the government. And we see all that you do, and we appreciate the efforts that you put into doing it, because what you're doing represents who we are, and we definitely appreciate that. So thank you very much for doing
you.
Just to continue on, we'd like to end this interview with 2 questions, and these 2 questions are very important to us as an organization. And we just wanted to ask, as an experienced and successful individual, what are some of the dreams that you have yet to accomplish?
That is a very hard question. Dreams. I think they're always intertwined with a better livelihood and a better life for our most hardworking Californians. So that means a life where somebody can say, you know, I'm working hard. I don't have a high paying salary. Maybe I didn't even go to college, but I'm part of the community and I can pay my rent and I still have something left over to get my kids into sports, to make a life that's a little bit better than what I or that individual is working towards. We see that so much with our immigrant families, where whether they're a farm worker and now their family members are graduating from college, so that they just feel that there's hope for the next generation, and that their own children can plan on a future that's even better than they had. And I see that with my own 4, I want to say children, they're not children, but adult children, that all of them, 3 out of 4 went to college in a traditional way. 1 is on a different pathway, but they all had experiences growing up that I could offer that I didn't have growing up. Yeah, so coming from a large family, you know, I wasn't able to take the dance classes that my own kids were. I wasn't able to have the same type of just say art experiences, museums, these type of things that I really kind of tried to support my own kids. So it's just that future generations have something to look forward to in a better life.
Perfect. And our last question would be, if you had one thing to say to everyone around you, what would that one thing be?
I would say we're living in a time that is highly divided, much more than when I was growing up. And even throughout the times that I've been elected, the last handful of years have been very, very divided, and that we should look for the common ground. So even if we starkly differ from someone, whether it's a political party, religion, ethnicity, background, that we look for ways to find common ground, that we look for ways to respect each other and uplift each other, because I am concerned that if we don't do that, we're going to continue to be as polarized as we've seen in the last handful of years.
So thank you so much for that wonderful response. And thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to do this interview with us. We definitely greatly appreciate it.
Thank you for sharing your perspective on these topics with us as we kick off our organization.
Well, really proud of both of you. Stay in touch. Let us know if we can do anything in the future. Really excited for you too.
Yeah, thank you so much. We definitely keep in contact.
Okay, bye-bye.
Yeah.